La Bella Vita was buzzing with soft jazz and the low hum of conversations. The smell of garlic and fresh basil lingered in the air, wrapping around us like an old memory. This place had always been special to us, a silent witness to countless evenings filled with laughter, whispered secrets, and clinking wine glasses. Tonight, though, something felt wrong. Ashley sat across from me, her fingers grazing the rim of her wine glass, her eyes darting around the restaurant like she was expecting someone. Or avoiding someone. She looked beautiful, of course, she always did, but there was a distance in her smile, something rehearsed in the way she laughed at my jokes. A few years ago, she would have reached across the table, squeezed my hand, maybe teased me about how I always ordered the same dish. But tonight, she barely met my gaze. A waiter appeared, setting down a basket of warm bread. I thanked him, but before I could say another word, a man slid into the seat next to Ashley. Just like that. No hesitation. No awkward introduction. He just sat down like he belonged there. My first instinct was confusion. Did he mistake our table for someone else's? But before I could ask, he leaned back in his chair, exuding a confidence that made my stomach tighten. He wasn't just some stranger. He knew exactly where he was. Ashley stiffened. Not in shock. Not in fear. In guilt. Then the man spoke. So, this is the husband. The air around us shifted. The warmth of the restaurant suddenly suffocating. My heart slammed against my ribs as I turned to Ashley, waiting for her to laugh it off, to explain, to do something. But she didn't say a word. The man smirked, his fingers drumming against the table. He was younger than me, maybe early 30s, dressed sharp but casual, expensive watch, designer jacket, the kind of guy who walked through life like the world owed him something. I looked at Ashley again, searching for any sign that this was a joke, a misunderstanding, anything. But she just sat there, biting her lip, staring at the tablecloth like a child caught sneaking out past curfew. A pit formed in my stomach. I don't know who the hell you are, I finally said, my voice low, steady. But you need to get up and walk away, right now. The man chuckled, shaking his head like I had just said something adorable. Relax, man. No need to get all worked up. I was just curious. What kind of guy still takes his wife out to dinner when she's been screwing someone else for months? The words hit like a sledgehammer to the chest. The restaurant, the music, the clinking of glasses. It all faded into white noise. I stared at Ashley, waiting for her to explode, to deny it, to slap this guy and call him a liar. She didn't. She just exhaled, slow and controlled, before finally looking at me. We should talk, she said so casually, like we were discussing whether to order dessert. I felt something inside me snap. The ground beneath me wasn't solid anymore. The air was too thick to breathe. I looked back at the man, this stranger who somehow knew things he shouldn't. His smirk hadn't faded. He was enjoying this. A waiter hesitated near our table, sensing the tension but unsure if he should intervene. The restaurant hadn't noticed the war erupting at this little candlelit table. I pushed my chair back, the sound cutting through the low murmur of the restaurant. You have about 5 seconds to explain before I make a scene neither of us will forget. Ashley sighed, rolling her eyes like I was overreacting, like I was the problem. Ashley looked at me with a mix of annoyance and something else. Something cold. The kind of expression you reserve for a person you've stopped caring about, but still need for a few things. She didn't make any attempt to apologize or look embarrassed. Instead, she shifted in her seat like she was getting comfortable in the chaos she just caused. The man beside her, this intruder, this thief of my sanity, had the audacity to grin wider. I could see now that it wasn't just confidence. It was smugness. He knew exactly what this was, and I was nothing more than an obstacle in his path. I'm not going to waste your time, the man said, leaning in toward me. But I've been seeing your wife for a while. And she's good, man. Real good. But you're not giving her what she needs, and I'm happy to step in and help out. I'd say I'm sorry, but I'm really not. He laughed, a short, mocking sound, before looking at Ashley. Ain't that right, baby? She barely glanced at him, her lips curling into a half-smile that didn't reach her eyes. It was like I wasn't even there anymore. Her whole demeanor was so casual, so indifferent, like she had no idea that this was shattering me. You're really going to sit here and do this? I asked, my voice low, dangerously controlled, as my hands tightened into fists. You're going to sit here with him, Ashley? You're really going to let this happen? Her gaze flickered up to meet mine, but it wasn't the loving look I was used to. It wasn't even the look of someone trying to explain themselves. It was empty, distant, as if I was just another inconvenience she needed to get rid of. "Look, Jason," she started, her voice annoyingly calm. "I didn't want this to happen, but you haven't been. You haven't been paying attention to me for months. I didn't ask for this, okay? But I'm done trying to keep everything together by myself." She looked at the man next to her again, and I swear there was a flicker of something affectionate, before she turned back to me. I needed something, and he gave it to me. A cold wave of disbelief crashed over me. My mind was trying to piece everything together, the late nights at work, the distance, the weird texts, the way she'd stopped talking about her day when I asked. But hearing her say it so matter-of-factly was like a slap in the face. I shot up from my seat, the chair scraping loudly against the floor. "You think this is justifiable? That this makes any sense? You've been lying to me, Ashley. Lying to me for months. And now you just sit there with him and act like I'm the fool." The man chuckled again, clearly enjoying the tension. He reached for his drink, swirling the wine slowly in his glass as if we were all sharing a casual moment in a bar. "You've been the fool for a while now, man. Didn't you notice the signs?" I swung my gaze back to Ashley. I wanted to scream, to demand she explain how long this had been going on, but I couldn't. The words wouldn't come. The reality was too heavy, too suffocating. She reached for her wine glass, casually sipping it as if nothing had happened, as if I wasn't standing there, shaking with a cocktail of rage and heartbreak. "You're just not the man I married anymore," she said. "You've changed, and I don't even know if you care about me anymore. This," she gestured to the man beside her, "to everything around us, is just a result of that. I'm sorry you're hurt, Jason. I really am. But this is who I am now." It wasn't even guilt. There wasn't a hint of regret or sorrow in her eyes. No remorse for the years we'd spent building this life. Only a cold finality. She'd made her choice, and I was the last to know. I couldn't move. My body felt frozen. I looked at her, at this woman I thought I knew, and realized I didn't recognize her anymore. "Are you really this heartless?" I asked, my voice hoarse. "Do you really think I'm just supposed to walk away from this? From you?" "I'm not heartless," she replied, looking down at her plate, not meeting my eyes. I'm done. There's nothing left to fix." The words cut deeper than any argument, any accusation. I'm done. And in that moment, I understood. This wasn't about me. This wasn't about the man sitting next to her. This was about her choosing herself. And there was no room for me in her version of the future. I looked at the man one last time. He was still smug, still enjoying the destruction he'd helped create. But something inside me twisted. I wasn't angry at him anymore. I was angry at myself for not seeing it sooner. Without another word, I turned and walked out of the restaurant. The cold night air hit me like a shock, grounding me in reality. I didn't look back. I couldn't. Because I knew that what I was walking away from wasn't just her, it was everything I thought I had. And that's when the weight of it hit. I had been living in a lie. The night air was sharp, cutting through my dress shirt like a blade. I stood outside La Bella Vita, my breath coming out in uneven bursts, my hands clenched so tightly my nails dug into my palms. I could still hear the hum of the restaurant behind me, the clinking of glasses, the low chatter, the sound of my world shattering into pieces while the rest of the city carried on like nothing had happened. I had walked out. I had left her sitting there with him. And she didn't come after me. Not even a glance. Not a single sign of hesitation. The thought sent a fresh wave of nausea rolling through me. I leaned against a nearby street lamp, staring at the pavement, replaying everything in my mind. Her words, her tone, the way she had looked at me like I was just some obligation she had finally freed herself from. How the hell had I missed it? How long had she been looking at me that way? I pulled my phone out of my pocket, my fingers hovering over her contact. It felt stupid, pathetic even, but some part of me still needed an answer. I wasn't the type of guy who could just accept something like this and move on. I needed to know how deep this betrayal went. Before I could talk myself out of it, I dialed. 1 ring, 2 rings, 3. Then she picked up. A pause. A long, heavy silence. I could hear the muffled sounds of the restaurant in the background. She didn't say anything. Neither did I. Then finally a sigh. Like she was annoyed. Annoyed that I was calling. That nearly made me throw my phone into the street. "What?" she said, her voice flat. That single word nearly broke me. Not "Hey, are you okay?" Not "Jason, let's talk." Just "What?" I swallowed hard, forcing my voice to stay even. "How long?" A beat of silence. Then, "Jason." "How long, Ashley?" I growled, my patience snapping. "Tell me the goddamn truth for once in your life." She exhaled, like I was being unreasonable, like I was the one ruining the night. Does it even matter? I closed my eyes, gripping the phone so hard I thought it might break. Yeah, it matters. She didn't answer right away, and when she finally spoke, her words were as casual as if she were telling me the weather. About a year. My entire body locked up. A year. An entire year of lies. An entire year of looking me in the eyes every single day and pretending. Of kissing me, sleeping next to me, of laughing at my jokes. And all the while she was with him. Something inside me shattered completely. Jason, she continued, her voice softer now, like she had just realized she'd actually hurt me. I didn't mean for you to find out like this. I wanted to talk, but I barked out a laugh, but there was nothing funny about it. Talk? Talk? You humiliated me, Ashley. You let that piece of shit sit there and laugh at me like I was nothing. You couldn't even look me in the eyes and admit it. She went quiet, and then, in the most Ashley way possible, she deflected. I mean, what did you expect, Jason? I pulled the phone away from my ear, staring at it in disbelief before bringing it back. What the hell is that supposed to mean? You've been so checked out, she muttered. Always focused on work, always distant. I tried to talk to you, but you never listened. And then I met Ryan, and she trailed off like that was all the explanation I needed. Ryan. Now the bastard had a name. I let out a slow breath, trying to keep my voice steady. So, because I was working hard for our life, for our future, you decided the best option was to start screwing some guy behind my back? That's the logic here. She sighed again, but this time it was sharper, irritated. You just don't get it. Oh, I get it, I said, my voice dangerously low. I get it perfectly. You're a selfish coward, Ashley. You could have told me. You could have ended things like a decent human being. But instead, you lied. You cheated. And now what? You want me to take the blame for it. More silence. But this time I heard something else. A voice in the background. His voice. Ash, babe, just hang up. Babe. I saw red. You're unbelievable, I whispered. He's right there, isn't he? You're sitting next to him right now, talking to me while he listens. She didn't answer, but she didn't need to. The silence told me everything. I ran a hand down my face, laughing bitterly. Wow. I really meant nothing to you, huh? A year ago, I would have said you meant everything, she admitted. But things change. That was it. That was the moment she stopped being the woman I loved. I nodded to myself, swallowing down every ounce of pain, every urge to scream at her through the phone. Instead, I straightened my spine, cleared my throat, and said the only thing that made sense. I hope he was worth it. Then, before she could say another word, I hung up. And for the first time in my life, I felt completely, utterly alone. I stood there on the sidewalk, gripping my phone like it was the only thing keeping me from falling apart. The streetlights cast a dull glow on the pavement, the neon sign of La Bella Vita flickering behind me like a cruel reminder of what had just happened. People passed by, laughing, holding hands, living their lives while mine had just ended. A year. A whole damn year. My wife, the woman I had built a life with, the woman I had trusted, the woman I had loved, had been lying to me for 365 days. And she didn't even sound sorry. My hands were shaking. Not from sadness, but from a rage so consuming, so white-hot, that I felt like if I didn't do something, I might actually explode. I turned back toward the restaurant, my blood pounding in my ears. I wanted to storm back inside. I wanted to rip that smug bastard out of his chair and smash his face into the table. I wanted to make Ashley feel the humiliation I had just felt, to put her through the same gut-wrenching, stomach-twisting pain she had just handed me like it was nothing. But what would that do? She didn't care. That was the worst part of all of this. If she had cried, if she had begged for forgiveness, if she had anything, at least I could have believed I mattered. But she had just sat there. Indifferent. Cold. Like I was some inconvenience she was finally done with. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of seeing me break. I forced myself to turn away, clenching my jaw so hard it hurt. I needed to leave. I needed to get out of here before I did something I'd regret. I headed toward my car, but the second I slid into the driver's seat, I knew I wasn't ready to go home. Home was where she had been. Where she had lied to me. Where I had spent nights waiting for her while she was probably with him. I couldn't go there. Not yet. Instead, I just drove. I didn't have a destination. I just needed to move. To get away from the restaurant, from the memory of her sitting there with him, from the look in her eyes that told me she had already moved on long before I ever found out. At some point, I found myself parked outside a bar. I didn't even remember driving there, but it didn't matter. I needed a drink. Several. The place was dimly lit, quiet enough that I wouldn't have to deal with drunk idiots bumping into me. I found a seat at the far end of the bar, ordered a whiskey neat, and downed it in one go. The burn barely registered. The bartender, a guy who looked like he had seen too many broken men in his lifetime, poured me another without me asking. "Rough night?" he asked, wiping down the counter. I huffed out a humorless laugh. "Something like that. Want to talk about it?" I stared down at my glass, watching the amber liquid swirl. Did I? Did I even have the words? My wife just admitted she's been cheating on me for a year. The bartender let out a low whistle. Damn. That's brutal. Yeah, I muttered, gripping the glass. And the best part? She doesn't even care. She sat across from me in the restaurant we always go to and let the guy she's been screwing introduce himself to me like it was some kind of twisted joke. The bartender shook his head, muttering something under his breath. People are cruel, man. Cruel. That was the perfect word for it. I sat there, letting the alcohol numb the sharp edges of my pain. I thought about Ashley, about Ryan, about all the nights I had kissed her goodbye, telling her to have a good night at work when she was probably with him. Had he been in our house? Had he sat on our couch, touched our things? Maybe even I slammed the rest of my drink back, my stomach churning. I was going to be sick. I couldn't sit here all night, drowning in whiskey and self-pity. I needed to do something. Then an idea, dark and vindictive, formed in my mind. Ashley thought she could humiliate me, thought she could win. She had no idea who she was dealing with. I pulled out my phone, my fingers suddenly steady, my mind crystal clear for the first time since I had left the restaurant. I wasn't just going to let this go. No, I was going to burn her world to the ground. I stared at my phone, my mind racing with possibilities. Revenge, justice, something, anything to wipe that smug expression off her face. Ashley had thrown away 8 years of marriage like it was nothing, like I was nothing, and she thought she could just walk away, hand in hand with that bastard without consequences? No, not a chance. I pulled up our shared cloud storage, my hands moving on autopilot. Ashley had always been the kind of person who was too lazy to manage her own backups, so she used mine. Photos, videos, screenshots, all of it synced to my account. I scrolled through, my pulse hammering. And then I found it. A collection of photos and videos. Some innocent. Some very much not. I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt. There it was, proof. Of her. Of him. Of the two of them in places that made my stomach churn. My own home. Our bed. The same sheets I had slept on, believing I was lying next to someone who loved me. My vision blurred with rage. I had everything I needed to destroy her. I could send these to her parents. Her job. Our friends. I could ruin her reputation in a matter of minutes. Let the world see exactly who she was. But then I hesitated. Not because she deserved mercy, she didn't. Not because I was weak. But because something inside me whispered that I could do worse. That this was too easy. Ashley had spent a year lying to me, manipulating me, making me feel like I was the problem. No, sending a few scandalous pictures wasn't enough. I wanted to take everything from her. My mind switched gears, calculating. The house? Mine. The money? Mostly mine. She worked, sure, but I had always been the one who made the real income. The car she drove? Mine. The credit cards she used? Mine. She thought she was walking away clean. She thought she had one. But she had no idea that I was about to gut her life from the inside out. I drained the rest of my whiskey, stood up, and threw a few bills onto the bar. I had work to do. By the time I got home, my anger had transformed into something sharp, controlled. I wasn't going to explode anymore. No, I was going to do the smart. The first thing I did was log into our bank account. Ashley had no idea, but I had always been the one managing our finances. She liked to spend. New clothes, fancy dinners, overpriced vacations with her girls. And I had let her because back then I had believed in us. In our future. Yeah? That future didn't exist. And neither did her access to my money. In less than 5 minutes, I had transferred every dollar from our joint savings into my personal account. Her cards? Frozen. Her name on the house? Removed. She wasn't just losing me. She was losing everything. I sat back, exhaling slowly, the tension in my chest loosening for the first time that night. This was just the beginning. Ashley wanted to start over with Ryan? Good. Let's see how much fun they have when she has to crash on his couch with nothing but the clothes on her back. I had just finished cutting off the last of her financial ties when my phone buzzed. Ashley. I stared at the screen, letting it ring for a few seconds before answering. What? I said, my voice flat. A pause. Then, what did you do? I smirked. So, she had noticed. I don't know what you mean, I said. leaning back in my chair. My cards aren't working, she snapped. The bank just called me. They said my name was taken off the mortgage. Jason, what the hell did you do? I let the silence stretch, savoring the panic in her voice. Jason, I swear to God, if you don't get to swear to God. I interrupted, my voice calm. You don't get to demand anything from me, Ashley. You made your choice. Now you get to live with it. You can't just take everything from me, she shouted. That's not fair. I laughed. Actually laughed. Fair? I repeated. You sat across from me in that restaurant, Ashley. You let that piece of trash humiliate me and you didn't even flinch. And now you want to talk about fair. I didn't mean for it to happen this way, she stammered. I was going to talk to you, but you didn't, I cut in. You cheated. You lied. And now you're just mad because you didn't think I'd fight back. She let out a frustrated breath. Jason, please. Can we talk? Face to face. I smirked. You want to meet up? What, at La Bella Vita? Her silence told me that hit its mark. Goodbye, Ashley, I said, my voice dripping with finality. Then I hung up. And for the first time since this nightmare started, I felt like I won. I tossed my phone onto the table, leaning back in my chair as Ashley's last desperate words echoed in my mind. You can't just take everything from me. No, Ashley. I absolutely can. I exhaled slowly, feeling something I hadn't felt in hours, satisfaction. The panic in her voice, the frustration, the realization that her perfect little plan had blown up in her face. It was better than any revenge fantasy I could have dreamed up. But I wasn't done yet. Ashley still had a key to my house now, since I had removed her name from everything. She was probably packing her bags at that very moment, trying to figure out where the hell she was going to go. Maybe she'd crawl to Ryan, maybe she'd try to guilt-trip her parents into taking her in. I didn't care. What I did care about was making sure she never set foot inside my home again. I grabbed my keys and drove straight to a locksmith. It was almost midnight, but I didn't give a damn. I was not waking up to find her standing in my kitchen, fake crying about how we should talk. 30 minutes later, the locks were changed. When I got back inside, I stood in the middle of the living room, staring at the space that had once felt warm and safe. The home we had built together now felt different, like the air had shifted, like the walls were finally mine again. Then I saw it. A framed picture on the mantel, our wedding photo. Ashley in her white dress, smiling up at me like I was the only man in the world. Like she hadn't been the type of woman who would throw it all away for some loser with an expensive watch and a smug grin. My chest tightened. For the first time since the restaurant, a different kind of emotion hit me. Something uglier than anger. Betrayal. I snatched the frame off the mantel and, without thinking, hurled it across the room. It shattered against the wall, glass raining down onto the hardwood floor. That was the last piece of her that would ever be in this house. I grabbed everything. Every framed photo, every stupid little keepsake she had left behind, and shoved it all into a trash bag. Every memory, every reminder of her, every piece of the life I had been tricked into thinking was real. Then I took the bag outside and threw it in the dumpster. I was done. I woke up the next morning feeling lighter. I expected the heartbreak to hit me, the sadness, the regrets, but no. Nothing. Just clarity. Ashley had made her choice. And now she was living with the consequences. I checked my phone, 2 missed calls from Ashley, 1 from her mom. A couple of texts, too. Jason, what the hell? Why isn't my key working? You seriously changed the locks? Call me. Then, the cherry on top. Ashley's mom, Jason, I don't know what's going on between you two, but please don't do anything rash. Ashley is really upset. I smirked. Oh, now she was upset? Not when she was screwing Ryan behind my back. Not when she sat across from me at that table, letting him humiliate me. Nah. She was just mad she lost. I ignored the messages and got out of bed, stretching as the morning sun poured through the windows. Today was mine. No Ashley. No lies. No weight of a broken marriage hanging over my head. Then another idea hit me. A final nail in the coffin. Ashley still hadn't officially moved her things out yet. I had let it slide before because, well, I hadn't expected my wife to be a cheating piece of garbage. But now I had zero reason to let her keep a foothold in my life. I grabbed my phone, pulled up a number, and hit dial. Hey man, I said when the voice on the other end picked up. You still got that moving company? 2 hours later, I stood in my driveway, arms crossed, watching as 3 movers hauled every single trace of Ashley's existence out of my house. Clothes, bagged up, makeup, shoes, all that useless junk she hoarded, tossed in boxes. That stupid, overpriced mirror she insisted we get because it made the room feel bigger, wrapped and ready to go. I wasn't gentle about it. I didn't carefully sort things or make sure her fragile items were packed properly. I didn't give a damn if her perfume bottles broke or if her designer bags got scuffed. She lost the right to care about what happened in this house the second she invited another man into her life. "Where do you want us to take this stuff?" one of the movers asked, wiping sweat from his forehead. I grinned. Now came the fun part. "Take it to this address," I said, reading off Ryan's place. I had never been there, but I had found it easily. Ashley wasn't exactly good at covering her tracks. After all, she had used my own bank account for their hotel stays before she started sneaking around at his place. The mover raised an eyebrow. "You sure, man?" "Absolutely," I said. "Make sure she gets the message loud and clear." I didn't know what was going to be funnier, Ashley realizing all her stuff had been dumped at her boyfriend's place, or Ryan's reaction when he realized he wasn't just getting Ashley but also all her baggage. Literally. About an hour later, as I was kicking back with a beer, my phone buzzed. "Ashley." I let it ring. Then a text came in. "Are you kidding me?" I took a sip of my drink, smiling to myself. Another message. "You sent my stuff to Ryan's? Are you insane?" Another one. "Call me. Now." Yeah, that wasn't happening. Instead, I replied with one word. "Me, enjoy." I barely set my phone down before it started blowing up. Call after call, message after message. I could practically hear the panic through the screen. And I loved every second of it. Then my phone rang again, but this time it wasn't Ashley. It was Ryan. I let it ring. Then, just because I was feeling particularly petty, I picked up. "Hello?" I said, sounding bored. A pause. Then his voice, sharp and pissed. "What the hell is wrong with you, man?" I grinned. "Oh, good, you got the delivery. You sent all her crap to my place? Are you serious?" "Dead serious," I said. "She's your problem now." Thought I'd make it official. Ryan swore under his breath. "Dude, you're acting like a child." I leaned back in my chair, taking another sip of my beer. Says the guy who slept with another man's wife. "Look, Jason, I save it," I cut him off. "I don't give a damn about your excuses. But let me be clear, Ashley. She's yours now. The tantrums, the lies, the baggage. All of it. Hope you're ready for that." "She's not staying here," he snapped. "That's not she wasn't supposed to," I laughed. "Oh, this was even better than I thought." "Sounds like a you problem," I said. "Good luck." Then I hung up. I sat there for a moment, staring at my phone, waiting to see if he'd call again. He didn't. And that's when it hit me, I won. Ashley wasn't my burden anymore. She was his. And I had never felt freer. The silence after I hung up was glorious. No more screaming texts from Ashley. No more pathetic phone calls from Ryan. Just peace. I exhaled slowly, sinking into my chair as the weight of everything finally started to lift. The house was mine. My money was mine. And Ashley? She was out of my life in every way that mattered. But I wasn't done yet. Ashley had spent a year playing games with me, lying to my face, making a fool out of me. She thought she could slink away and start fresh like nothing happened? That I'd just roll over and let her walk into the sunset with Ryan the homewrecker? No, I wasn't just going to erase her from my life. I was going to make sure she felt it. I grabbed my phone and started typing. First, her parents. I had always gotten along with them. Her mom, Karen, was the kind of woman who loved the image of a perfect family. The Christmas cards, the smiling Facebook posts, the look at my daughter and her wonderful husband. Type. She had no idea her daughter was a lying, cheating piece of garbage. Time to fix that. Me, "Hey Karen, just wanted to let you know that Ashley and I are officially done. She's been cheating on me for the past year with some guy named Ryan. Just figured you'd want to know the truth before she starts spinning some story about how it's mutual." I hit send. Not even 2 minutes later, my phone rang. "Karen." I picked up, waiting for the inevitable meltdown. "Jason, what the hell are you talking about?" she demanded. "Ashley wouldn't, she did," I said flatly. "For a year. I caught her last night." She admitted it. Silence. Then, in a small, shaking voice, "Oh my God." I almost felt bad for her. Almost. "I didn't want you to find out like this," I lied, "but I thought you deserved the truth." "She told me you were drifting apart," Karen whispered. "That she felt lonely. That she wasn't happy anymore." I clenched my jaw. Of course Ashley had started planting those seeds early, trying to rewrite the story before I could tell it. "She wasn't lonely," I said. "She was screwing Ryan behind my back. In her house. While I was working my ass off to give her the life she wanted." Karen gasped. The sound of a woman whose perfect image of her daughter had just shattered. Jason, I am so sorry," she stammered. "I can't believe she, oh my God." "Yeah," I said. "Same. I need to talk to her. Good luck, I said. She's busy moving her crap into Ryan's place. Another gasp. I almost laughed. Jason, Karen said, her voice shaking with anger now. You didn't deserve this. I know. Another pause. Then, in a cold, sharp voice I had never heard from her before, I'll handle this. And that was that. Next, our friends. Ashley had always loved playing the victim. If I didn't get ahead of this, she'd be spinning some sob story about how I was the distant, neglectful husband who pushed her into another man's arms. Not happening. I pulled up our group chat, the one we had shared with all our mutual friends for years. And I dropped the bomb. Me, just so you all hear it from me, Ashley and I are over. She's been cheating on me for the past year with some guy named Ryan. Found out last night. Just letting you know before she starts making up some bullshit story about how we grew apart. I hit send. And then I muted the chat. Because I already knew what was coming. Shock. Outrage. Questions. I didn't need to read them. I had said what I needed to say. Ashley wanted to keep this quiet? Too bad. The last thing I did was the most satisfying. Ashley still had one major connection to me, her phone. I had been paying for her plan this entire time. Her calls, her data, her precious Instagram where she posted her fake little happy life pictures? All of it was on my account. I pulled up the provider app and, with a single tap, canceled her line. Good luck calling Ryan for help now, Ashley. By the time I was done, I sat back and exhaled slowly. It was over. She was erased. No money. No house. No phone. No backup plan. She was going to wake up today in Ryan's bed, realizing that the fantasy she had built was crumbling around her. And I was finally free. The best part? I didn't feel bad. Not even a little. Ashley had spent a whole year making me feel like a fool, walking around like she was untouchable, like she could lie, cheat, and walk away without consequences. But now she was drowning. Her money? Gone. Her house? Gone. Her perfect little safety net? Gone. I took my time that morning. Made myself a good breakfast. Played some music. Opened the windows. It felt different. Lighter. Like all the weight, the tension, the lies that had been suffocating me for months had finally disappeared. Then my phone buzzed. Not Ashley. Not Ryan. A mutual friend. I raised an eyebrow and picked up. Jason, Eric said, his voice tight, controlled. Dude, what the hell happened? I smirked. I think the group chat explains it. You're telling me Ashley cheated for a year? He asked, like he still couldn't believe it. With some random guy? I let out a slow breath. Not random. His name's Ryan. And yeah, a whole damn year. I caught them last night. Jesus Christ, he muttered. Then, lowering his voice, dude, she's losing her mind. I leaned forward. Oh, yeah. She's been calling everyone, trying to do damage control. Saying you're exaggerating, that it's more complicated than that. I let out a dry laugh. Of course she was. She's saying you overreacted, Eric continued. That you took all the money out of spite. That you're trying to ruin her life. I took another sip of coffee. Completely unfazed. Sounds like she's finally realizing what consequences feel like. That's not even the best part, Eric said. I heard from Megan, her best friend? Yeah, apparently Ashley showed up at her place at 6 in the morning, crying. I nearly choked on my coffee. 6 in the morning? I grinned. Let me guess. Ryan didn't want her there. Bingo. I laughed. Loud. Oh, this just keeps getting better, I muttered. Apparently, after receiving all her stuff at his doorstep, Ryan flipped out. He never intended for Ashley to move in. He just wanted the fun part, the sneaking around, the excitement. But the second she showed up homeless, jobless, and broke, reality hit him like a freight train. He told her it was too soon and that he wasn't ready for that kind of commitment, Eric said, barely holding in his own laughter. So he slept with her for a year but wasn't ready to live with her? Apparently. I sat back, shaking my head. Unbelievable. Ashley had burned her entire life to the ground for this guy. And the second things got real, he bailed. I couldn't have planned a better punishment if I tried. She's still trying to spin it, Eric added. She's telling people that she had her reasons and that you pushed her away. I smirked. I bet that story's not holding up well. Oh, it's not, Eric confirmed. You nuked her life so fast that she didn't have time to control the narrative. The second she called me, I already knew the truth. Perfect. Ashley thrived on control. She was always the one pulling the strings, making sure things happened on her terms. But this time, she was completely exposed. And she had no idea what to do. Eric let out a breath. Look, man, I just wanted to say I got your back. A lot of us do. What she did was messed up. You didn't deserve it. I nodded. Appreciate it, man. We hung up and I set my phone down, feeling lighter than ever. Ashley was homeless, broke, and rejected by the guy she threw her life away for. And me? I was finally completely free. The days that followed were quiet. Peaceful, even. No more forced small talk. No more wondering why Ashley was so distant. No more waiting up at night, thinking she was just working late when she was probably tangled up in Ryan's sheets. I had one. And Ashley? She had lost. She tried calling me again. A few times, actually. But I let every call go to voicemail. I had nothing left to say to her. She wasn't my wife anymore. Hell, I wasn't even sure she was a person anymore. Just a ghost of someone I used to love. Then a final text came in. Ashley, I hope you're happy. You ruined my life. I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed back, no, Ashley. You did that all on your own. Blocked. Deleted. And just like that, she was gone. A few months later, I ran into Megan, Ashley's former best friend. I was at a coffee shop minding my own business when she spotted me. Jason? I turned, raising an eyebrow. Megan. She hesitated, then sat down across from me without asking. I have to tell you something. I sighed. If this is about Ashley, I really don't care. Oh, you'll care about this, she said, smirking. I stayed quiet, letting her continue. She's a mess, Megan said, stirring her coffee. Like a total wreck. She's been couch hopping for weeks. Her parents aren't talking to her. Most of our friends cut her off. And Ryan. I grinned. Let me guess, he ditched her? Oh, he more than ditched her, Megan said, laughing. Turns out he had another girlfriend the whole time. Ashley wasn't even the only one. I actually burst out laughing. Ashley, who thought she was so special, so irresistible, so untouchable, was just one of many. She deserved every second of this. She called me the other night, crying, Megan continued. Said she wished she could take it all back. That she messed up everything. I took a slow sip of my coffee, savoring every single word. I don't know why she thought I'd care, Megan added. I told her she had it coming. Then I hung up. Damn. Megan always struck me as the type to defend Ashley no matter what. But even she had limits. Guess she finally ran out of people to lie to. I muttered. Megan nodded. Looks that way. She glanced at my coffee. So, how about you? You doing okay? I thought about it for a second. And then, for the first time in a long time, I smiled. A real smile. I'm doing better than ever. And I meant it. Ashley was gone. Her drama was gone. The weight of that toxic, one-sided marriage was gone. I had my life back. And it was mine again. I stood up, tossing a few bills onto the table. Good seeing you, Megan. She nodded. You too, Jason. I walked out of that coffee shop feeling lighter than I ever had before. Because for the first time in a long time, I was finally, completely, and utterly free.